And for anyone who is joining us and is new here today, my name is Alicia. My pronouns are she and her. And I'm practicing with you today on the native lands of the Tunaka, Spokane, and Shuswap tribes, now known as Spokane, Washington. And I also like to acknowledge, as we come into these practice spaces, that yoga originated thousands of years ago in ancient India and has been passed down from teacher to student. And I'm thankful to my teachers who shared their knowledge with me so that I can be here to hold space with you as you explore your own yoga practice. And I also like you to know that anything that I offer today are simply invitations, but I encourage you to tap into your own inner teacher, your own bodily wisdom, and let that be your primary guide for our time together. So in a moment here, after we work on finding a comfortable seat, I will invite the bell to drop us into our centering. Thank you, Linda. That is my primary goal. I appreciate you saying that. I want to go through that we will invite the bell. That will drop us into our centering. Then we'll transition to some gentle movements, which will be focused on a grounding with the floor. So today I don't have any plans to come up to hands and feet, but I just want to reassure you that this class is no up and down off the floor. We're staying grounded with the floor using all of our props. And then we will finish up with the Shavasana, or integration and relaxation time. So before we invite the bell and get going with our centering, I'd like to go over different ways to find a comfortable seat, because it's not comfortable for everyone to sit on the floor cross-legged. So a couple options here. I right now am sitting up on one blanket. You always have the option to, if you'd like a little more height, but not a lot yet, maybe throw that second blanket down there. See what that feels like. And you can check out what it's like to be cross-legged. And I'm sitting towards the front of my blanket so that my knees will settle down below my hips. Sometimes that will be enough to help with sitting on the floor, making that more comfortable. You can cross either leg in front. They can be more loose. So work with that. See what that's feeling like in your body. If this still maybe isn't enough height, you can swap your blankets out for your bolster, or maybe even a bolster and a blanket. But we're just building up enough height to give you ways to find a comfortable seat. So you're welcome to try that out. If you are up on your bolster, and maybe the cross-legged thing isn't working for you, and you want to go maybe straight out with the legs. Once you get to the height of the bolster, putting the legs straight out probably leaves quite a bit of gap here under the back of the knees. So if you like this amount of height and also want the legs to go straight, you might want to play with rolling up your blanket and tucking it under the knees, giving the knees some support so you're not hyperextending the knees towards the floor. So take a few moments to try out a few of those options. And you're also welcome to obviously sit flat on the floor and try any of those things. But I'd like you to have the opportunity to find some ease in your seat. So once you get situated there, you can close the eyes or soften the gaze down, and then I'll invite the bell to drop us into our centering. So as we're coming into our practice space today, you might like to take a moment to simply acknowledge the presence of everyone who's here with you. Even though we're not in the same physical space together, energetically, we've all chosen to take the same time out of our day, coming back to ourselves, our practice, hopefully in a way that can add a few more tools to our resilience toolbox that can help us in other areas of our life. As you think about everyone who's here, you might choose to let the corners of the mouth start to upturn and a little bit of a smile. And notice not only what that smile feels like in the area of the face, but what might you notice about how it feels in other areas of the body. Do you feel a slight lift of your mood just with that small upturn of the corners of the mouth? You might feel that smile radiating throughout the rest of the body. And whatever you do or don't notice, that's just fine. We're just opening to noticing whatever comes up for our awareness. And for today's practice, I'd like to invite in the intention, may I root down to rise up. So you might think, what could that mean for you in your practice today? I'll definitely bring forth some suggestions, but just your original reaction, your initial reaction, what might that mean to you? Rooting down to rise up. So let's start by taking the skin out and back from each hip. And start by feeling a sense of rootedness through the sitting bones into whatever surface that you've chosen to sit on. You can gently let the pelvis rock forward and back, just making these very subtle movements. And can you tap into a sense of rootedness through the seat, through the sitting bones? And then can you find a sense of balance through the sitting bones as you work your way towards stillness? You might also start to become aware of other areas of the body that are in contact with the floor, tapping into the sense of rootedness in those areas. Depending on how you're sitting, it might be the sides of the feet or the heels, or the sides of the legs, back of the legs. You might even feel a rooted sensation of the hands resting on the thighs. Feeling into these subtle sensations of being in contact with the floor or other parts of your body, they can encourage the nervous system to maybe head a little bit more back towards neutral. It can bring you more from being lost in your thoughts and more up in your head to maybe being more embodied, more aware of the sensations of the body, where it's at in space. So these are simple things that we can come back to throughout our day to help ground ourselves, help root ourselves into the present moment. And now that you have an idea of ways that you could root down, how can that also help you to rise up? So maybe coming back to feeling the sitting bones in contact with the floor or your props. With your next inhale, can you encourage your spine to lengthen from the pelvis all the way through the top of the head? Maybe gently lifting the sternum as well. And as you're allowing the spine to lengthen up, can you also allow the shoulders to soften down? So that we find that balance between rising up, lengthening up, and also rooting down and softening down. And as you have started to lengthen the spine, you also might become aware of the sensations of the breath. If you like, you might even place one hand on the belly. This is another area that you can feel the grounding and rootedness, your hand in contact with your belly. And then can you encourage the belly, heart, throat, jaw, and tongue to be soft? As you trace the path of the breath in and out through the nostrils, if that's available to you today. Allowing the belly to expand into the palm of your hand with each inhale. And allowing the belly to relax back towards the spine with each exhale. And there's nothing that you need to change about your breath in this moment. But you can set your focus on the breath, what you're noticing about it, to be lower in the body, more towards the belly. Another way to encourage the sense of rootedness. And you can release your hand from your belly if you'd like, maybe resting both the hands on the thighs. Let's take 3 full breaths together. Inhaling through the nose, and then on the exhale, blowing out through the mouth as if you're blowing out through a straw, as if you're holding a straw between the lips. Let's give it a try. Inhale through the nose. Exhaling long and slow through the straw. Exhaling all the air out, and then letting the next inhale arise naturally. Exhaling through the straw allows you to extend the exhale and let it be long. This is another way that we can root down. After your third exhale, you can allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm. And just take a moment to observe the breath and notice changes, if any, in the rhythm of the breath from when you started until now. And when you're ready, you can open the eyes or lift the gaze. Then start to take a look around, reorienting to your space, taking in colors, shapes, textures. This is also an opportunity to get some different movements into the eyes, head, and neck. And this simple process of orienting to your space is yet another way that you can root down, kind of giving the nervous system something neutral to focus its attention on. If your mind's busy and that's tiring you out, you could take a break and notice what it feels like to have your bum in a chair or on the floor, your feet on the floor, and just look around, notice what you see without any judgment. And when you feel complete with checking out your space, if you are sitting cross-legged, let's go ahead and switch whichever leg is in front. If you are in a different position and you feel like you need to make a change, go ahead. We're going to be seated in whatever way you're in right now for a few more minutes. Then let's start to rotate the torso around. Some people might refer to this as stirring the pot. So imagine your torso is like a big spoon and you're stirring the pot of the hips and legs beneath you. Syncing up the breath with the movement here. Maybe exhaling as you come forward when the belly is getting compressed more. And then inhaling as you come around back. Letting the shoulders be soft. And also taking a moment to notice where in this position could you maybe tap into that rooting down, and where could you tap into rising up. You might start to feel the length in the spine. Next time you come through center, let's switch and go the opposite direction. You might feel rooted through the bum, or maybe the legs or feet, or maybe the hands on the thighs again. There's lots of options. But as always, this is your practice, so these are just some suggestions to get the juices flowing. But whatever your experience is, that's what's most important for you. Once you start to feel even both directions, we can meet back at center. So let's root down through the sitting bones, lengthen up through the spine, soften the shoulders. And with your next inhale, let's turn the chin towards the right shoulder. And then long exhale all the way across to turn the chin towards the left shoulder. Inhale, back across, chin towards the right shoulder. So find your own pace here. You can let the pace of your breath inform the pace of your movement. Let's do one more each direction. And when you're complete with that, we'll meet back at center. Let's go ahead and grab the strap. If you need to make any adjustments to your sitting position, go ahead and do that. After we get done with the strap here, we'll be changing it up a little bit. So let's take and extend the strap all the way. Let's grab it about shoulder width with gentle fists. And then with your next inhale, reach the arms forward and up as they start to come up over the top of your head. Now taking care of your shoulders here, maybe your grip is wide like this. Maybe it's really wide. Take care of your shoulders. So whatever width is working for you, that's what you should go with. As you come up, let the fists be really soft, and then slide the hands down the strap as you bring the strap down and behind. Your arms can get as wide as you need. And then inhale, back up, and exhale, forward and down. Let's go ahead and reset the grip. Inhale up. Soft fists sliding down the strap as you exhale, back and down. Inhale up. Exhale, forward and down. Go ahead and reset your grip. Let's do one more at your own pace. And after your last one, let's give the arms a shake. You can set your strap off to the side for now. Let's go ahead and grab both blocks so they're handy. And if you're sitting up on a bolster, you're either going to want to have one of your extra blankets handy or maybe both of your extra blankets handy to roll up underneath the back of the knees to give them some support so they're not hyperextending down. Or you might choose, I'm just going to go to one blanket now because I would like the backs of my legs to be closer to the floor. So I'm going to opt for one blanket, a little bit of height, but not too much that I have a big gap underneath the backs of my knees. And then go ahead and take the legs wide. So wide can mean a lot of things. So whatever that means for you, but where you can also find some ease here. So there's no need to overdo how wide the legs are. You can even flex the feet back towards the rest of the body and windshield wiper the feet side to side. And take a moment to check in here. Are you regretting how wide you took the legs? If so, bring them a little closer together. So let's go ahead and take the blocks and frame up the left leg with the blocks. You can bring them to the highest height. Not sure how many people have worked with blocks before, but they have 3 heights. So flat on the ground in this direction is the lowest height. You can bump it up to a medium height or the highest height. So let's go ahead and start here with the highest height. Start to turn the torso in the direction of the left leg. Inhale, lengthening the spine up. You're also rooting down through the sitting bones, through the legs. And then on your exhale, start to hinge forward from the hips and hinge toward the left leg. And as you're hinging forward, keeping the spine nice and long, we're not hunching down over the leg, we're keeping the spine long. So this may be a very subtle hinge, which it is for me. You can walk your blocks to whatever distance forward is good for you. You can keep your hands on the blocks. You may choose to come down to forearms if you can still keep your spine extended. So whatever you're choosing here, let's soften the shoulders down and let's take 3 full breaths. If you feel your kneecaps squeezing up towards your hips, see if you can soften those. After your third exhale, you can press into the blocks for support to come on up. Let's bring the blocks to the center now. So similar thing here, we'll root down through the sitting bones. Inhale to lengthen the spine up, soften the shoulders down, and then exhale, hinging from the area of the hips, keeping the spine long, the shoulders relaxed. You can hinge forward any amount. Hands might be up on the blocks like this, maybe coming down to forearms. Whatever's working for you here that you can still keep the spine nice and long. Let's take 3 full breaths in this position. After your third exhale, you can press into the hands to come back up. And then let's frame up the right leg, starting to turn the torso towards the right. Rooting down through the sitting bones, then inhaling to lengthen up through the spine. And exhale, start to hinge forward from the hips towards the right leg. Keeping the spine long, the shoulders soft. And treat the left and the right completely as individuals. You may find that you're hinging forward more towards one side than the other. There's nothing that needs to be done about that. We just add it to our practice of observing. Let's take 3 breaths here. After your third exhale, pressing into the hands to help you rise up. And we can set the blocks off to the side a bit. Let's flex the feet back towards the nose, give the legs a windshield wiper. And then while the legs are still wide, let's bring both hands to the floor. It can be tented up on fingertips. Maybe your hand comes all the way to the floor. If your arms are a bit shorter and they're not coming to the floor, that might be a way to bring your block in to give you something to press into. But we want to get some contact with the floor, with the hands, kind of back on either sides of the hips. So with your next inhale, let's raise the right arm forward and up, taking care of your shoulder. Maybe your arm is out here. Wherever you're at, root down through the sitting bones and the left hand, rise up through the right fingertips, and then on the exhale, start to lean towards the left. So your left hand, as you lean towards the side, can walk out any distance to give you some support. Gaze can come up towards the extended right hand, maybe straight ahead, maybe towards the floor. Take a full breath here. Then pressing into the left hand to help you come back up on the inhale. Exhale, release the right arm down. Let's do the other side. So right fingertips or hand in contact with the floor. Feeling the sitting bones and the right hand to root down, raising the left arm up on the inhale, reaching up through the left fingertips, and then on the exhale, leaning towards the right, maybe walking the right hand further towards the right. Checking in with where your gaze feels good on this side. Softening the bottom shoulder. Let's take a full breath here. And then pressing in to the right hand to come up. Let's bring both arms up. Reach up through the fingertips and then out and around. Let's give the arms a shake out. Let's go ahead and bring both legs in front. Again, if you're feeling, I think I might even do this, even though I'm only sitting up on one blanket, now that my legs are forward, I'm going to add a little support under the backs of my knees with one of my extra blankets. That feels a little bit nicer. Also gives me another point of rootedness here through the legs. So let's leave the left leg long and then bend into the right knee, bringing the right foot flat to the floor. So we're going to come into a twist here. So there are a lot of options. You can bring your foot in as close as feels good. Make room for the belly. So you can take the left hand to the belly, bring it towards the middle. And you can also take your leg wide. I choose to take my leg a little wider instead of trying to smash it into the belly, and it feels too compressed for me there. So figure out what's right for you here. Root down through this right foot and the sitting bones to let the spine lengthen up. And then on your exhale, let's twist towards the left. So you might be bringing the right arm, elbow, forearm area into the inside of the right knee or thigh, and the left hand down behind you. And then finally, you can let your head and neck follow around if that feels good. Let's take 3 breaths here. After your 3rd exhale, inhale as you unwind back to center. Let's bring both legs down, give them a shake, and we'll switch to the other side. So now bending in to the left knee, bringing the left foot to the floor. Let's make room for the belly, bring it to the center, and then pull the leg in to a place that feels comfortable, maybe taking it wide. Let's root down again. Inhale, lengthen up the spine, soften the shoulders down. And on your next exhale, let's twist towards the right. So bringing the right fingertips down to the floor, maybe bringing the left arm inside the left knee and thigh, softening the shoulders again. Let's take 3 full breaths here. After your 3rd exhale, inhale to unwind. Let's bring the legs out front again and give them a shake. So now let's make our way to hands and knees. This might be a good opportunity to use one or both of your blankets under your knees for support. I'm feeling like a 2-blanket day, so I'm going to bring 2 blankets under my knees. And also have your bolster handy, because I'm going to show you a couple options here for hands and knees, depending on what your wrists are feeling like today. Have your blocks. So let's start with roughly the knees under the hips, wrists roughly under the shoulders, and come up to have your hands on the blocks on the medium height. And see how this is feeling for you. You also have the choice to shift your weight more back towards the hips, so less is in the wrists and the hands. But see what it feels like to have your hands up here. You can move side to side. Get a feel for this. Now, if this is not working for your wrists, another good option can be coming to forearms on your bolster. So putting your bolster down in front, you may have to play with the distance from the body. But now see what it feels like to bring the forearms down to the bolster and still roughly having the knees under the hips. See how you can move here. This completely is taking any weight off the wrists. So get a feel for that. See which is going to work best for you. And then let's make our way into a tabletop position. Knees under the hips, wrists under the shoulders. Let's move through a few cat-cows. So with your next inhale, let's let the belly and the chest drop. You're arching your back a bit as your gaze comes up slightly. And then on the exhale, start to press the belly up towards the spine, pressing up through the shoulder blades and tucking the chin. So moving at your own pace here. Inhale, dropping the belly, chest, gaze comes up slightly. Exhale, lifting the belly towards the spine, lifting the shoulders blades, pressing out through the shoulder blades towards the sky as you tuck the chin. So whatever the pace of your breath, that can be the pace of your movement. And now that we're on hands and knees, or knees and forearms, where are you feeling a sense of rootedness in these postures? And where might you also feel a rising up? Now you can let these movements get organic. That might mean looking over one shoulder, so kind of bending side to side, making a C shape. Really just getting into the spine in any direction that feels good. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. You can even shift the hips back towards the feet. Just feel free to get creative here. You might even choose to press your hips back far enough that you can get some extension through the arms, lengthen the back body. Just remembering to breathe in whatever you're doing. And then let's take the blocks on the medium height, turn them parallel to the rest of your body, and then take your bolster, set the bolster on top of the blocks. You have kind of a little bridge here, and then scoot up towards your bolster so that your bolster's coming in near your hips, and then lower the chest down onto the bolster. Arms can come out in front, or with this little hole that you have underneath the bolster, you can, pardon my microphone if it gets covered up here, you can rest the head down with the arms tucked underneath. So let's go ahead and take 3 breaths with the head turned one direction. And in this position, also check in, where are you feeling rooted and where can you rise? And switching sides with the head. 3 full breaths on this side. Letting the spine be long. And then after your third exhale, you can press into the hands to come back up. And you can set your bolster off to the side. Let's dial the blocks up to the highest height. Come up onto your knees, and you can have your fingertips or your hands fully in contact with the blocks. Let's go ahead and move both blocks towards the right side of your mat, and then take a large step forward with your left foot. So these blocks can stay on your right side once you get here, or you may choose to frame up the left leg. I'm also going to, well, in a minute here, I'll turn the other direction so you can see. But whether you're keeping the blocks on the right or framing up the left leg, this is another opportunity. Take your hand, bring the belly to the center so you give more room for the body. And then start to bend into the left knee. If your left knee is coming way out past the left ankle or foot, that's probably your cue to take your stance wider front to back. So bend into the left knee and start to get some extension along the front of the right hip. Using the blocks for support, softening the shoulders down. And you can have your right foot, you can have the top of the foot on the floor. Then let's press into the left foot, bringing the blocks with you, walking the blocks back, bringing the hips back towards the right heel, working the left leg in the direction of straight, always at least keeping a micro bend in that left knee. And then you're coming back onto the left heel. Then let's bend into the left knee again, walk the blocks forward. Get some extension through the front of the right hip. And then press into the left foot, shifting the hips back towards the right heel. So go ahead and move through this a few more times at your own pace. Checking in with the jaw and shoulders, softening them as needed. And next time you bend into the left knee, let's use the blocks for support, leaning the weight towards the right so that you can bring the left knee back to meet the right. You can shift back the weight back towards your heels a bit for a rest. And then we'll go ahead and switch to the other side. So this one, I'm going to turn the other way, so you have a different point of reference. I'm still using my blankets under the knees. So this time we'll bring the blocks towards the left side of the mat. Shift the weight into the left knee so that you can step the right foot forward. Either keeping now the blocks on the left side or framing up the right. Start to bend into your right knee. I'm going to inch my right foot a little bit more forward so that my right knee, when it stops, is about over my right ankle. So bending into the right knee, extension through the front of the left hip and thigh, and then shifting the hips back towards the left foot as I work the right leg towards straight, coming onto the right heel. And bring it forward, bend into the right knee. And then I'm just sinking down till I feel that sensation in the front of the right hip. Walk it back. So move through this a few more times at your own pace. Feeling into the root again, as well as the rise. The rise might be feeling the spine staying long. All right, let's bend into the right knee again, bringing both blocks to the left side if they aren't already, pressing into the hands. Your weight's also shifted onto your left side so that you can bring your right leg back to meet it. You can shift the hips back for a moment, stretch the front of the thighs. And then let's make our way to our bellies. If you have two blankets here, you might want to get rid of them altogether or come down to just one. You can also, if you have your extra blanket, you can leave it handy because we'll use it for a pillow soon. So let's lower down onto your belly in whatever way is working for you. And then let's come to forearms. So forearms down, hands flat on the floor, fingers wide, and then roughly have the elbows stacking under the shoulders. You can let your shoulders gently press down towards the hips. Tops of the feet can be on the floor. You're also welcome if you're feeling a little too much compression through the center, like you're smashing up top to bottom, come up on your toes and work the lower part of the body down and see if that opens up a little bit more space for you, and then return the tops of the feet to the floor. So let's take a breath here. Where's the rootedness in this position? You might start to feel the belly pressing into the floor with the breath. You've also now got your elbows and forearms in contact with the floor, as well as your legs and tops of your feet. As you continue to let the shoulders soften down, can you feel length or rise in the spine from the hips all the way through the top of the head? Let's take 3 more breaths here. After your third exhale, you can bring the arms in front of you, rest your head down on the backs of your hands, release the legs. If you'd like, you can come up onto the tiptoes and then windshield wiper the legs side to side. You're also welcome to flex the feet and bring the bottom of the legs up and windshield wiper up higher. And then when you're ready, let's make our way towards our Shavasana. So I'm going to give you a couple of options for that. Have all of your props handy so you've got some variety. I would definitely suggest a blanket under the head like a pillow. If you're not using your extra blanket, I would consider maybe covering yourself up with that if it's not already too hot where you are. It's pretty warm here. And also have your blocks handy. So you might sit up here first just to take a look at some options and then find what you'd like. For me, it is rarely comfortable to lay flat on the floor with my legs just out in front of me. So to bare minimum, I usually like to have a bolster under the backs of my legs. So it would be, I won't lay down all the way because I have something else to show you, but it would be kind of like this. Another option that I really like is taking both of the blocks on the medium or the high height and then putting the bolster across them. I have cork blocks, so they're a little heavier, a little more sturdy. If your tower here is wavering too much on the high height, maybe bring your blocks down to the medium height. But then you can scoot your bum close to the blocks and the bolster and then scoot down so the bolster's kind of hitting you in the backs of the knees. And then see what that feels like. I think that's what I'm gonna go with for today. So you can bring your pillow under your head. May or may not be covering yourself with a blanket. Some people may just like the weight. That's another thing that we can add for our rooting down practice. A little bit of weight of the blanket can sometimes be calming for the nervous system. So before you close your eyes or soften the gaze, you may take an opportunity to orient to your space one more time. Taking in all the colors, textures, shapes. You can let your arms come out to a T. You can even box the arms overhead. Just see what's working for you today. Where are you going to find the most ease and the most rootedness here so you can find some space to relax. And then let's work our way through a body scan. And before we do that, let's go ahead and tap into the breath a bit. Maybe resting the hands on the belly for a moment. Letting go, releasing the belly, heart, throat, jaw, and tongue. And we do this to invite in at least a little bit more ease for the path of the breath. No need to change anything about the breath here. Just notice how it's feeling. Feel the connection of the hands against the abdomen. And once you start to feel some connection to the breath, you may choose to release the hands, release the arms down. And then let's scan through the body as we name each area of the body. You can encourage that part of the body to relax and release. Let's start with feeling the sensations of the feet, ankles, lower legs, knees, upper legs and hips. Making any adjustments to this lower part of the body to add to your ease and comfort. And then allow the bottom part of the body to be soft and heavy and rooted and settle into stillness. Coming up into the torso, the front body, belly, chest, front of the shoulders, and the back body, lower back, middle back, upper back, tops of the shoulders, upper arms, elbows, lower arms, wrists and hands. Making any adjustments to the middle part of the body to add to your ease and comfort. And then let this area of the body be soft and heavy and rooted and settle into stillness. Coming up into the neck, jaw, cheeks, eyes, ears, back of the head, forehead, and top of the head. Making any adjustments to the head and neck to add to your ease and comfort. And then let them be soft and heavy, rooted, and settle into stillness. Taking your time, you can bring some small movements back into the body. Perhaps starting with the fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. And then letting those movements get bigger. Waking the body up in any way that would feel good. As you feel ready, you can roll to one side. And take at least one full breath there before pressing your way back up to seated. You can open the eyes or lift the gaze. If you'd like to join me to close, you can rest one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. This closing I'm going to share is from one of my teachers, Anna Guest Jelly of Curvy Yoga. May I greet my body with gentleness. May I soften when life invites me to harden. May I listen to my intuition with wisdom and trust it with ease. And may I appreciate my body a little more in this moment, just as it is. And then we'll press the hands together in front of the heart. Let's take one breath together. We'll inhale and exhale. Thank you so much for choosing to share your time and your practice with me today.